You know, ever since the first motorcycle sputtered to life, there's been one simple, burning question. How fast can it go? That one question is what kicked off an insane arms race on two wheels, pushing engineering and, let's be honest, human guts to the absolute edge.
But you know, when you're chasing that kind of speed, you have to ask yourself a different question. At what point does this quest for pure velocity get too dangerous, too reckless? When do you finally say, okay, that's enough? Because for the longest time, the answer was always, push it further. Manufacturers were locked in this epic battle for the title of the world's fastest. And then, right at the peak of the war, they just stopped. This is the incredible story of the secret truce that ended the motorcycle speed wars.
Okay, so before we dive in, you gotta understand the two different battlefields we're talking about here. In one corner, you've got the streamliners. These are custom-built, one-of-a-kind rockets designed for one thing and one thing only, breaking land speed records. They're basically spaceships for the Bonneville Salt Flats.
But those aren't the bikes we're talking about today. Nope. Our story is about something way more relatable, and maybe even more impressive, the fastest production motorcycles. We're talking about machines that anyone with a fat wallet, could walk into a showroom and buy. This was a battle for bragging rights on the street, where it really counts.
Look, this need for speed, it's not some new thing from the 90s. It is baked right into the DNA of motorcycling. Way before the modern power wars, a few absolute pioneers were already pushing the envelope, smashing through barriers that most people thought were totally unbreakable.
So getting to that magic 200-mile-an-hour mark, man, it was a long, hard road, and it was paved by these legendary bikes. Just look at the time gaps here. We're talking entire decades of blood, sweat, and innovation separating each major leap forward.
The first huge mental hurdle? Breaking that 100-mile-an-hour barrier. Back in 1925, the Bruff Superior SS100, which was just a work of art, became the first production bike to be factory certified to hit triple digits. That was a speed that was almost science fiction for a machine you could actually buy.
And that record? It held on for 23 long years. Then, in 1948, the Vincent Black Lightning showed up, and the story behind its record-setting 150-mile-per-hour run is just legendary. The rider, rolly-free, stripped down to his swimming trunks to cut down on drag, laid flat out on the bike and created one of the most iconic photos in motorcycling history.
All right, now let's hit the fast-forward button. That old pioneering spirit, it morphed into this fierce, competitive rage that just exploded in the late 80s and 90s. This wasn't just about friendly competition anymore. Oh no, this was an all-out war for who would dominate the market, fought mainly by the big Japanese companies.
And the fight was unbelievably close. In 1990, Kawasaki just dropped a bomb with the Ninja ZX-11. It hit 176 miles per hour and owned the top spot for 6 straight years. Then, Honda fired back with the CBR 1100XX Super Blackbird. It beat the Ninja by a single mile per hour. Can you believe that? Just 1 mile per hour faster, but that was all it took. That's what officially kicked off the Power Wars.
So for the next couple of years, the war just raged on. But all the manufacturers were about to get a serious lesson in what overwhelming force really looks like. Because in 1999, a new challenger came along that wasn't there to trade jabs. It was there to end the fight with one knockout punch.
And that challenger was the Suzuki GSX 1300R. But you probably know it as the Hayabusa. And Suzuki, they weren't exactly subtle about it. Hayabusa is Japanese for peregrine falcon. That's a bird famous for two things: hitting speeds over 200 miles an hour and hunting blackbirds. With a top speed of 194 miles per hour, it wasn't just a win over the Honda Super Blackbird, it was total domination. At this point, a 200-mile-per-hour street bike seemed like it was right around the corner. The Hayabusa put it within spitting distance. The world was holding its breath, waiting for Kawasaki's counterattack. And then, silence. Nothing. The race at its most exciting moment just stopped.
So, what happened? Well, behind closed doors, a secret deal was made. It's known as the Gentleman's Agreement. Turns out, the thought of a 200-mile-per-hour bike that anyone could buy absolutely terrified European politicians. The manufacturers were facing the very real threat of an import ban, so they made an unofficial pact to save themselves. They all agreed to electronically limit their future superbikes to a top speed of 300 kilometers per hour. That's 186 miles per hour. So from the year 2000 on, it didn't matter how powerful the engine was. The bike's computer would stop it from going any faster than 186.
That was it. Game over. The official speed war had ended.
But here's the thing you learn about people. You can't just outlaw the desire to go faster. It doesn't work that way. So, while the official war was over, that fire, that passion to push the limits, it just found new places to burn. It found new battlegrounds with new rules and even crazier machines. And oh man, these new frontiers are just wild. In the track-only world where you don't have street laws, you get supercharged monsters like the Kawasaki Ninja H2R hitting a ridiculous 249 miles an hour. The electric revolution is here too, with bikes like the Lightning LS218 proving silent torque can hang with gasoline. And then, there's just, I don't know what to call it, pure insanity, turbine power.
You heard me. A helicopter engine on a motorcycle. This is real life, not science fiction. The MTT 420RR runs on a Rolls-Royce turbine engine, and it creates a machine so powerful, so extreme, it's hard to even wrap your head around it.
Maybe the best way to describe it comes from Jay Leno, who actually owns one. He said riding it is like the hand of God pushing you in the back. Its top speed is somewhere way north of 250 miles per hour. It's so fast that the guys who built it admit the rear tires start spinning on the pavement at 180. They've never actually had the nerve to find out its true top speed.
And that brings us full circle, right? The gentleman's agreement is still technically in place, but with track bikes hitting 250 and electric motors delivering just insane instant torque, you've got to ask yourself, is it just a matter of time? Is the 300-mile-an-hour street-legal motorcycle simply inevitable? Because the quest for speed, it never really ends.